Suicide rates in rural areas the world over are much higher than in urban areas, and more so in developing countries. In India, the suicide rate is about 103 per 100,000. In the United Kingdom, it's 5. That's 5 in the UK, 103 in India. Now, the thing about this is over time the markets will adjust. Prices will come back as people will get out somehow. They'll move to cities, they'll abandon their farm, or more likely they'll become yet another third world statistic. But we'll get back to equilibrium eventually. This is what we're talking about, a generation. But ladies and gentlemen, make no mistake, this isn't some surprise. We could foresee this all from the beginning. Economic liberalisation is directly responsible for the effects that we see in the coffee world. In fact, it's completely necessary, because that's exactly the creative destruction that we see that makes capitalism such a powerful force for good and has allowed us to do so much in the near time. Coffee, it seems, is a little bit like sausages. It's one of those things that becomes quite unpalatable if you actually understand the way it's made. But that's the price we pay. That is the price that we pay for us and for our children and for the coffee farmers' children to be able to live in freedom and to have the opportunity at standards of living that we can't even imagine right now. So what does this mean for me as a bleeding heart libertarian? Well, look, I still support capitalism, and even if I didn't, it's not my choice. Free markets are here to stay. But more importantly, I've got a choice, and I'm not okay with what's going on still. I don't like it that in our world people are killing themselves just so they don't starve to death. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the things that we did in the free markets is that we privatised charity. Welfare and all those sort of things from private sources to developing countries are now 5 times greater than what governments can ever do. Now, moreover, that's given through non-governmental organisations who are free from the kind of politics and the back-scratching that dominates the international aid scene. What we've done is we've made markets our politics, which makes dollars our votes. Nowadays, we have a much stronger ability to influence the world that we see tomorrow when we stand at the checkout and choosing between 2 different goods than we ever do when we stand at the voting booth. Because what we do when we buy something is we make a choice. We take into consideration our limitations, our resources, what we want, our needs, and those are the people that are around us, and actually anything else that matters to us. And we make a choice, which is exactly what we do when we vote. Now, that means that every time you buy something that's made in a sweatshop, every time you buy something that's made in a way that's not environmentally sustainable, or every time you just turn away from the collectors on the street, every time you decide you're not going to buy free trade coffee, where the extra money goes toward helping farmers or giving farmers such luxuries as 3 meals a day and basic medication, as well as helping them to transition into other forms of, other ways of finding their livelihood. Every time we do that, we stand up, we make a statement, we vote. Which means that it's not just good enough to go and complain to the government and say what we need is more tariff barriers, we need more restrictions, we need more overseas development aid. Because those are exactly the policies that we turned away from 2 decades ago. And more importantly, that's not taking responsibility for our part in all of this, which the anathema of, which is the absolute antithesis of exactly what anyone that says they're a liberal says that they're standing for. The world we have these days is exactly the product of all of our individual decisions. And that's what I'm here to say to you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here to really encourage you to take a hard look at the choices that we're making. Because it is a lie when we say that we cannot afford to buy free trade coffee. It is a lie when we say we cannot afford to give $20 a month to Oxfam. Because we can. It's possible, but we choose not to. We're not willing to go without in other areas in order to do that. We're not willing to live somewhere cheaper in order to give someone less than $1 a day to someone to whom that dollar is literally the difference between life and death. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'm not here to make value judgments. If you don't care, that's absolutely fine, and it's your prerogative to choose that. I'm not saying you should give money. I'm not saying you should give more money. I'm not saying you should care at all. But what I am saying is that we've got, with the freedom to choose, comes the obligation to take responsibility for our decisions. So if you do say that you care, but yet all of a sudden, the way you're spending your money and your actions say otherwise, that's not okay. Because we can't continue to go against everything that we stand for and say we want to make a difference as if it was someone else's, that made that choice. Never has it been so possible to be the change that we want to see in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to put up and shut up, or shut up. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to put our hearts, our wallets exactly where our hearts are.